Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And I just found out and went ahead and watched it that none other than Kenny KO, Mr. Shirts Off, Pants Down. God, that shit is ridiculous, but it works for him, man. Hey man, if you can sell it, brother, then by all means carry on. Went to the Mr. Olympia Expo, and he walked around asking people, well-known people, if they were natty or not. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing. We're going to skill up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Now, Kenny, you didn't actually confront them. You know, you kind of said, yeah, man, we don't just talk smack online. We confront people. We confront them in person. You actually pretty polite. You didn't confront anybody. You didn't argue with any of the fake natties, and they said they were natty. You said, okay, he's natural. You know, that's not confronting, man. That's just kind of like letting them report their own bullshit. Right? That's letting them report their own bullshit. However, the fact that you actually went and did it at all, you know, even people that maybe you have pissed off, you have smack talked, that you did actually go there and at least talk to them. Hey, fair enough, man. I'll give credit where credit is due. You know, it's kind of funny. People will say, Jason, you know, you've never done it. Yeah, actually, I did, man. I did. And I can tell you, Jeff Side didn't want anything to do with me. So let's not act like I never went to an expo. I'm just not interested in any of that crap anymore. All things considered. But, you know, I'll give Kenny credit for that, though. I mean, say whatever else you want about the dude. The guy did legitimately go, and there are people that he has kind of smack talked a little bit online. Actually goes to the expo there and everything else, and so people can see him there in person. You know, I'll give some respect for that. Even if he wasn't really confrontational, like you said, I will give some respect for that. You know, I'll give some respect. Props to you for that, Kenny. But, you know, a few things I noted just from observing that was, number one, the sheer number of people who just flat lied. Like, wouldn't admit to their gear use. Gave tricky answers. They can't give a straightforward answer. That's the other thing, man. You guys really want to do business or buy products from people who can't even give you a straight yes or no answer? Who beat around the bush? Silly ass answers. Now, granted, I understand you're asking people to admit that they are breaking laws and do so inside the United States. Probably not the best of ideas. But the fact of the matter is, there was a lot of lying. Also, a couple other points, man. Number one, a lot of dudes are really short. I don't know how tall Kenny is. And I mean, that can distort stuff. For all we know, Kenny's, you know, 6'3". Like, I made the mistake of that. I had two guys get on camera with me before who I know who are like 6'5". That doesn't help when you do stuff like that. A lot of these dudes were shorter than I even expected. Like Brad Castleberry, like you know, you're looking at Kenny versus the height of some of these other guys. I was surprised. I didn't know Brad was that short. Because some of these other guys, you know, they were varied in height, and they were all shorter than Kenny. Kenny's obviously a tall dude, real tall dude. But, you know, when you look at some of it, I was, like, really shocked at Brad. But then again, you know, Brad's weighing, what, 240, and he's real short. He's probably a respectably strong dude, all things considered. So I noticed, you know, just some of the guys, how short they were next to him. And number two, there's a lot of butterfaces there, man. And I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be a dick, but you do see a lot of that in the fitness industry. And I mean, I don't know. I guess you could see that. There are a lot of women out there who know they're not necessarily pretty, but if they can get that banging body, they can still build an audience. And so, you know, I mean, again, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. It's about working with what you've got, right? If you know that you're a below average attractiveness female, but you can still build a massive following because you can build a hot physique, more power to you, girl. But there's always a lot of that at these expos, and this was no exception. This was no exception. But, you know, the interesting thing for me was, again, the fact that everyone denied it. It'd be like, Kenny, man, you could have been like, bro, you could have really confronted them. You'd be like, we're going to get a confession out of you, bro. You're natural. YouTube natty motherfucker. But just kidding, man. Obviously, you can't do that at an expo. But all these dudes was like, oh yeah, man, I'm natural. Oh yeah, I'm natural, man. And you know, some of them is on a little bit. Some of them are on a little bit. Guys who I've called out who we know are on a little bit. Even hell, Brandon Carter. And to be honest, man, Brandon actually gives decent training advice these days. I don't like his diet stuff he's pimping. And to me, you know, when a guy is not doing keto and they build a certain physique and they switch over to keto and they don't lose muscle, For me, that's almost a red flag. They're using a little bit of gear. Just my experience over the years. But, you know, in all honesty, no, I don't think guys like Brandon Carter are fully natural. I think he dabbles a little. But is he at least given decent training information these days? Yeah, he is. So I'm not going to knock that end of it. I will knock the keto all day long, though. But that aside, I mean, take someone like Castleberry. Castleberry couldn't even give a straight answer. You know, he couldn't even get a straight answer. If you're going to claim natty, then just be like, oh, yeah, man, I'm natty. Or, no, man, I'm not natty. But instead, what answer does he give? Well, I mean, natural could mean a lot of things. Some people say if you take protein, you're not natural. Are you serious? And then he had to clarify, no, I mean hormones, man. And he's like, well, it's like some people drink and some people don't. He couldn't even answer the question. I mean, when you have somebody who is that slimy, they can't even answer a straightforward question like that. They have to beat around the bush like that. When a guy who's already known for fake weights, because let's be realistic, Brad Castleberry has done fake weights, and I don't care what he does with Kenny in the future. Even if he goes and lifts some respectable weights, we know he fakes stuff. Because, I mean, you can look at his size and know he's strong. I mean, is there any doubt in anyone's mind if you see Castleberry how stacked the dude is, particularly his height, that he probably can lift a hell of a lot of weight? Of course he can. Like, no one would question that. But, you know, the fact of the matter is when we have seen him do a real lift, he missed a 675 deadlift the other day, which I talked about. He missed a lift. He couldn't lift the 675. He had to hitch and everything and couldn't lock it. All right? And I'm not saying that that's weak, because even breaking 675 off the floor if you miss the lift is no small feat. You know, but let's be realistic. Most people who lift will never reach that strength level. Of course they won't. Right? Of course they won't. Well, if you look at the guy, you know he's at least a 400 bencher. Probably more. Probably rep 400. But the thing is, throwing like 650, 670 on the bar and doing a fake lift, doing fake squats with 800 pounds, then you miss a 675 deadlift, that already shows those other lifts are fake. The guy fakes lifts, faking lifts, when asked about the natural thing, when he obviously abuses very large amounts, he is not dabbling a little bit. You know, some guys on there, like I said, you know, Brandon Carter probably dabbles a little bit. You know, like I don't look at Brandon Carter and say that's a guy who abuses drugs. I'd say he probably dabbles a little. Does he abuse? No. All right, you have someone like Castleberry who is a very clear abuser, clearly uses grams of gear, clearly uses HGH, uses fake weights, and then asks and he beats around the bush. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not a person I would ever be able to trust to sell a product. I mean, anything, what's a guy going to sell? Sell you training programs now? Sell you supplements? I mean, you can't trust someone like that. I mean, already the fakery with the list, but he can't even answer a question like that without giving some bullshit, beat around the bush answer. Then another guy, you know, ask a guy who looks like he's on a bit of gear, hey, are you natural? I'm vegan. I'm vegan. Hell, if you're vegan and carrying more muscle than you should, that's already an indication. It's harder to build muscle as a vegan. Everybody knows. Anyone who's done the vegan thing knows that. All right? We all know that. I'm not saying you can't do it. It is just more difficult. So when you see a guy who's really jacked, questionable natural status, who then, you know, uses a cop out there, vegan, come on. You know, and that's the problem. You know, that you got a guy like that. And I don't know who that guy was. I have no clue who that was. But the same thing, you know, then he wants to sell you vegan products. Selling vegan products right there after he dodges an honest question like that. Again, I mean, are these people you can trust in business? And I think that's the big part of all this, of what I talk about with the sliminess in this industry, man. This industry is full of nefarious business practices. And, you know, when you really look at it, you got someone like Kenny who is walking around. So maybe that's an interesting point. Maybe I do need to give him more credit for that. He might not have been confrontational, but he did kind of show people's true colors, didn't he? While still being polite. So maybe there's a strategy to that. He didn't have to be a dick. He didn't have to really be confrontational. But it does show people's true colors, because when put in that situation, a lot of these guys just flat look at the camera and lie. Flat lied. Or the really shady guys, they beat around the bush. They give bullshit answers. They can't even give a straightforward answer. In other words, if they, instead of just lying and said, yeah, man, I'm natural, they couldn't even do that. They couldn't give you a yes or no. I'm vegan. Well, you know, some people define, some people drink, some people don't. Bullshit answers. Bullshit answers. And I think that's interesting. Look at the different responses people gave there. That's what I would say to people. Look at the responses they gave to him. And then think about maybe their business ethics and the honesty of these different people when it comes to products they might be selling or services they might be selling. That's things to factor in, isn't it? You know, that's things to factor in. How do they answer when a straightforward question like that is put forward about a controversial topic? Can they just lie with a smile and a straight face? Do they have to do a cop-out? Do they just kind of come forward? You know, it'd be interesting. What I would almost think is someone who's honest, and they might say like, look, man, I don't really want to talk about it, but you know, obviously not, man. But I'd really rather not talk about it. I mean, that's actually a good answer. You know, just being honest that you don't want to admit to it for, you know, obvious reasons. You'd be, hey man, you're asking me if I do something illegal or not. All right, I'm just not comfortable discussing that topic. See, that's at least an honest answer, isn't it? That's an honest answer. Without actually saying it, without incriminating yourself, you're at least being truthful. We didn't see a whole lot of that, though, did we? All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.